Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan is over. It lasted barely 18 hours and it has left the world on edge. China is furious. It is responding with force. The PLA has launched what it calls targeted military operations. The Chinese military has encircled Taiwan. The situation is precarious. Even one misstep can start a war. Is China prepared to take it that far? How is Taiwan responding? And what did the US achieve from this visit? To what extent will they defend Taiwan? We'll discuss all of this and more. The Taiwan showdown is our cover story tonight. We'll start with a recap of Pelosi's visit.
Blessings in abundance, y'all. Blessings in abundance. Blessings in abundance. How are you doing today? You know exactly who this is. Jason Miller, Roy Llewellyn. Check that spelling. All right, so listen, I'm here live on direct on another episode of I'm Not Saying Nothing, I'm Just Saying. And of course, you know, today's episode is brought to you by God's Gift and God'sGiftLuxury.com. And of course, we support the Oglala Sioux Nation tribe and the Oglala Hemp Project. So please definitely donate and support, because the Native Indians, we do need your support, especially in these times. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on today, I want to take the time out to share some special information. And the reason why it's special is because wherever there's a problem, there's always a solution, right? Wherever there's a problem, there's always a solution. And we're going to talk about a couple of things all about that as it relates to that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about premature ejaculation or premature provocation. And in that episode, I spoke about this very same thing and these very same incidences as it relates to Nancy Pelosi. That was actually my last broadcast. And I spoke about Nancy Pelosi and this very same process as it relates to her going to Taipei. Now, what I will say is, as I've stated before, you know, I personally see or have seen or understand that Vladimir Zelensky, for a greater part, has been a television comedian and an actor his entire life and career. So in this process, as he was able to enjoy a peaceful acting role for the first 2 seasons as politician while he was in Ukraine, this season or these episodes, as you've seen him playing an action hero, has now turned into him playing a lover boy in the middle of playing an action hero. So he's no longer taking the stance in the defense of the country. He's now firing his closest allies that work within that has been fighting alongside him, and he's taking pictures for Vogue magazine. Now that's one aspect of the war, and the reason I want to bring that up as I speak about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have to pay attention and understand that now we're going to be fighting the third war physically now, because we're already dealing with the inflation as far as the taxation, as far as the pandemic was concerned. And that pandemic war created inflation, it created higher taxation, and it also was the start of the food crisis on a small scale. We really weren't paying attention to it because during the lockdown, they were, you know, giving us these plastic rubber chickens in boxes in America. All across America, we got these, you know, plastic rubber chickens and the plastic rubber vegetables that were all coated with stuff. But we weren't paying attention to it. We were just in need, and we accepted aid from the government and the resources that supplied the aid. And we rely on our government to be at our aid in these times. We rely on our government to look out for the people, or we expect them to, right? We hope so. Well, in this situation, as you see, things might not be the same. You know, for example, in America, when you die, do you know how much money the government gives you? $250 for your funeral. That's it. If you hear something going around, that's my cat Milo. I call her French fries, but her name is Milo. She's just running around here having a good okay old time. But the point I want to make or get back to is that with where we are right now in these times, you have to look at the geopolitical aspects of everything that is affecting you, because the government is only going to give you $250 when you die to take care of your death benefit to bury you. How much is it? What's the cost of an average funeral? About 10, 15, maybe $20,000 if you want to bury your loved one in dignity. So if the average funeral costs about anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000 just to bury your loved one with dignity and put them in the ground, what does the $250 cover? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's exactly what it covers. So it doesn't cover you with the proper dignity. it covers your ashes, and it covers your dust. That's all the American government cares about. Dirt, land, soil. Because after you are burnt and your ashes go back to the dirt, it becomes dust. And over time, just like when your body goes into the ground, it goes back to the earth. Now, what we're going to talk about right now is how things actually are working, or what are the inner workings of things, and how we can actually, what we can actually do to avoid them. Now, in this situation, Nancy Pelosi now has been if there's ever the first shot in war, you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, this was it, right? So, Tia-Pai in their region, they've been they were part of China in the Civil War. You'll hear more about it in this story as I'll cover it with Palki. And of course, you know you're tuned into Palki, and this is GRAVITAS WION World is One. So make sure you check them out, and make sure you go on and subscribe. Download the app in the App Store if you have that space. All right, check that out. So okay, as I continue, I'm going to get further and deeper into the story so she can give you a better understanding of Nancy Pelosi's activities and some of the things that she said. In addition, I'm going to continue that right into what China's response is, as she's going to lead right into China's response and what China not is actually physically doing and their verbal response. And then I'll come back in, because at that point in time, I want to be able to express some key things as it relates to the information that I have been sharing previously and where we're going, so you can understand what is actually happening right now. Because again, Nancy Pelosi is the first shot in the second war that's going to cause us to be suffering even more. Again, war is fought by politicians, or started by politicians. As you can see, Nancy Pelosi, a politician, fought by the military. As you can see, the military taking action with China, suffered by the people, as you see with the people, 26 or 23 million people right there in Taipei, and actively, significantly impacts the global economy, as we will experience as this war cataclysmically changes the world and future current events. If you don't realize, China and Bill Gates are great friends, just as great friends as China and Russia. So if China and Russia has an unlimited partnership that covers military resources and military means, China and Bill Gates has an unlimited partnership that covers biotech medical weapons, bioresource, biomedical research, biolabs, and biotechnologies. As we see, as we have seen, as we have heard come out of his mouth, he's been working with China to develop vaccines for everyone in the world. Bio, not in America, in China. Now, what is significant about that is because you have to understand China owns a large amount of American-owned companies. You're talking about your GE, General Electric. You're talking about your GMs, your General Motors. How many cars does General Motors make? Let's see, you have Cadillac, you have Chevrolet, you have GMCs, you have Buick. These are GMC brand built, owned, Chinese owned companies. I'm not going to go into the technology companies, because we know China has been technologically more advanced than Americans for a number of years now. So we won't get to the technological competition with that. That makes no sense. That's almost like America trying to team up with NATO to pledge $600 billion to combat China's $4 trillion. It makes no sense. So I can't make that shit up, by the way, but it makes no sense. I'm not saying nothing, though. I'm just saying. I'm going to get into this, but I want to give you a chance so you understand what is happening and clearly explain. Okay? So the next step that's happening right now, as you're going to understand, is now China also, with Bill Gates, funds the owning of all American farmland during the pandemic. So not only did Bill Gates tell us in 2015 there will be a pandemic, his puppet Fauci in 2017 told us exactly how that pandemic was going to work. And then at the time leading up to it, he was so primed and ready to go, He was actually excited about dealing with the pandemic because he wanted to see how people respond and how they could dictate the way they could change and reshape the world as it relates to the constitutional rights of American citizens by being able to get them or mandate them being able to have to take certain things into their bodies, which the constitutional right protects you from being subjugated to free will of your body. However, the vaccine mandate changed that for a lot of states. All of a sudden, natural immunity and all the medical historical information was non-void and non-important. Why? Because it didn't suit the narrative for the situation or the activity that wanted to happen. And keep in mind, all these things happened shortly after Zika, Ebola, SARS, MERS, and all these other viruses that was just popping up out of nowhere because they were looking for the right one. And after Fauci found the right one, he had to fund the research. So when you hear me on previous episodes, I posted the entire interviews with him and the biomedical scientists that developed the launch of this virus, as they talked about it from the U.S., the European, and the pharmaceutical allies who wanted to actually gain a function skills to the virus. And there it is, it gained some functions, the human to bat interface, as Dr. Fauci puts it. So again, now that China, you understand, China owns America's farmland, China owns a large amount of American-owned companies, and yes, China is now going to war with America by first going after the defense of their one China policy that they have laid out for America already, and America has accepted while America was accepted Chinese money. But now, Nancy Pelosi is the trigger puller of this war. Because as you will learn, this is a strategic military operation. China does not recognize Tia-Pai. They will only do business or communicate with U.S. Why? Because they gave U.S. the money when they were buying up the properties. U.S. accepted their proposal for the one China policy. So for Nancy Pelosi to now undermine that and go there, it triggers an entire global worldwide natural war catastrophe, because again, China and Russia have unlimited partnerships. They share the same interests as it relates to special military operations, as you see Russia conducting their special military operation, which was premature to China's already set out, laid out, planned strategic military operation. Because China wasn't just talking about it for years, they've been talking about it for years now. They've been planning and making active actions and movements towards this. What just happened? Nancy Pelosi just pulled the trigger. Okay? Pay attention to that. So now I'm going to get back into the story with Palki so you can get an understanding of, a deeper understanding of the global events that's actively taking place while we're being told, that they're supporting Nancy Pelosi's decisions and all the other countries that are a part of you being subjugated to the one world, new world order system. But let's continue. Shall I?
Through 6 questions and answers, and we start with the question what? What happened in Taiwan today? Or in the last 24 hours? The US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi landed in Taiwan yesterday. She was welcomed by the Taiwanese officials, top Taiwanese officials at the airport, and this includes the Foreign Minister of Taiwan, Joseph Wu. He was at the airport too. Pelosi did not travel to Taiwan alone. 5 other American lawmakers went with her. Question number 2 is why? Why did Pelosi go to Taiwan in the first place? Apparently to show support for Taiwan's independence. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province, and it is ready to take back this province by force if necessary. And if that happens, the US has vowed to come to Taiwan's defense. So Nancy Pelosi's visit was supposed to serve as a reminder for that, for the American commitment. Question number 3, where? Where did Pelosi go in Taiwan? Her visit was a short one. She did not even spend a full day there. Nancy Pelosi was in Taiwan's capital, Taipei. She held several high-level engagements there. Question number 4, who did Pelosi meet? All the key decision makers and stakeholders in Taiwan. In the morning, she met Taiwanese lawmakers. Then she visited the Parliament of Taiwan. There she met Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen. What did Pelosi tell her? She said America's support for Taiwan is quote-unquote ironclad. In response,
Ironclad.
President Tsai thanked Pelosi for making the trip.
Ironclad.
Today, the world faces a choice between democracy and autocracy. America's determination to preserve democracy here in Taiwan and around the world remains ironclad. I welcome.
Ironclad. So after agreeing to the one China policy, knowing that China does not recognize Taipei at all as an independent state in this one China policy, Nancy Pelosi is now going to Taipei in the middle of the night like a thief in the night. You know, like a dude trying to go in and to try to steal a coochie. Like he's just going to try to rob somebody, just going to start some shit. These are the people in the world that start some shit and just dip and then let the world figure it out, right? So there she goes, and now here, Taipei.
Speaker Pelosi and the delegation to Taiwan, thank you for taking concrete actions to show your staunch support for Taiwan at this critical moment and for expressing the United States' consistent policy supporting Taiwan's self-defense.
Before leaving Taiwan, Pelosi met human rights leaders. She even did a quick tour of a human rights museum. Yes, Taiwan has such a museum, a human rights museum, a reminder of the period when Taiwan was under martial law. And here Pelosi met activists on Tibet, Hong Kong, and Tiananmen Square. Another not so subtle dig at China, you could say. Question 5. When did Pelosi leave? Earlier this afternoon, she boarded the same military plane that brought her to Taiwan. The SPAR-19 U.S. Air Force operated Boeing C-40C.
Not bad.
Our final and perhaps the most important question: how is China responding to Nancy Pelosi's visit? China has not taken it well. It has launched a series of military operations. Beijing has sent a warning to airlines. It has asked pilots to avoid flying around Taiwan. Same for ships. China has warned ships in the region to steer clear of Taiwan. Let me show you why. This is the map of Taiwan. Now, do you see the red blocks? There are 6 of them. Experts are calling them danger zones. And that's because the Chinese military has launched operations in these zones. Look at the map carefully again. The PLA is encircling Taiwan. They're everywhere. There are 3 danger zones in the north, 1 in the east, 1 towards the west, and 1 in the south. China has launched these operations. In fact, China launched these operations last night. China's military response is split into 3 parts. Part 1 is the exercises. The PLA has activated its naval and aerial assets. They will be conducting drills around Taiwan. Part 2 is a shooting drill. The PLA is conducting what it calls long-range live ammunition shooting. Again, this is happening in the danger zones. The Chinese military has brought out its guns. It is firing bullets into the Taiwan Strait. And part 3 of their operation is missile launches, perhaps the most dangerous component of China's plan, missile launches. The PLA will launch ballistic missiles near Taiwan. They could fly over the island.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, I can't make this shit up, okay? I can't make this shit up. It sounds crazy that I can't make this shit up, because when I'm sitting here and I'm saying this shit, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are saying, this nigga's making this shit up. Oh no, I'm not making this shit up.
So effectively, China has surrounded Taiwan, and this is a security nightmare for Taipei. China's moves have already disrupted flights. Taiwan has reached out to Japan and the Philippines. They're negotiating alternative flight routes. Taipei has also hit out at the Chinese government.
The reckless behavior by Communist China of conducting live fire drills in waters and skies close to Taiwan, some of which are in the neighboring waters of Taiwan, threatens international aviation routes, challenges the international order, damages the status quo in the Taiwan Strait, and destroys regional security. The National Army is determined to protect our country's sovereignty
future
and
NBA
has the
prospect,
ability and confidence to
lottery
take on
pick.
this responsibility.
Look out for him.
We will also prevent
Nova.
any actions that damage our national sovereignty.
China is indeed acting recklessly. This operation is dangerous for two reasons. One, the entire might of the Chinese military is involved. The Chinese ground forces, their navy, their air force, even the strategic missiles forces, all of them have a role to play. And reason number two is the language. Had it been any other situation, Beijing would have called these operations military drills. But right now, China insists that it is conducting targeted military operations. And this is happening around Taiwan.
Targeted
Their foreign ministry,
military operation.
foreign
Does that
ministry
sound
said as
similar
much
to the
today.
special military?
We all know that China has repeatedly made clear to the US its solemn position that China firmly opposes Pelosi's visit to Taiwan through various channels and at all levels. But clearly, the US and separatist forces in Taiwan did not listen. In this case, the Chinese military can only have a dialogue with the US and the separatist forces in Taiwan in a language they can understand. The Chinese side will take.
So, as again, they will only talk to the U.S. because they only had a conversation with the U.S. They already made deals with the U.S. The U.S. already made agreements with them. And now they're only going to talk to Taipei in a language that they understand. So, as you see all of these things lined up right now, where they're completely surrounded Taipei, you might think that Taipei is an outcast. And when I think of outcast, I be like, hey, don't pull the thing out unless you're playing the bang. Bombs over Taipei. Yeah, don't pull the thing unless you play to do something. Bombs over Taipei. That's really what we under right now, y'all. They bought this dropping some bombs over Taipei. And who is responsible for that? For the Thai people in Taipei, who's responsible for the triggering of this entire process? Is this still going to be Putin's price hike? I don't know. But if we don't start asking the right questions, y'all, we're going to get screwed. Listen, man, I tell you what. I'll come back in after China, and this is it. You got to understand, right? There's three phases of life. Three phases. There's history, there's misery, and then there's legacy. And we all fall into one of those three categories. We fall into the categories of people who understand history. Because the people who understand history are the ones who actually gets to tell the story. As I'm giving you an opportunity to learn right now, as I'm telling you the story, as we're now living through another version of history. The difference is if you don't pay attention to version of history, history will be revised and rewritten, and you will be written out of history if you don't understand. So you will be the misery. And the misery also follows the mystery. Because they're one and the same. Because the mysteries happen when you see those things or things happen that you just cannot understand. Why? How? Why would our government do this? Why? How does the world get to this point? Why do politicians always find themselves in these processes? The misery. Why don't you do anything about it? Why don't you ever make a change? Why don't we ever wake up and actually take action? Why do we submit ourselves and subjugate ourselves to all of the things that happen to us? And then there's the legacy. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to make that change? When are we going to establish those monumental feats in the name of our family legacy? But that comes with decision making, and proper decision making at that. So with that being said, I want to talk to you about the fourth component. What do I mean by the fourth component? The fourth component is like seeing in the third dimension, or living in the third dimension, or not being able to understand things from the fourth dimension. So let me give you the fourth dimension of warfare that you need to understand that's happening every day, that governs everything and everything that we actually partake in. Now listen, I told you guys, the pharmaceutical industry has profited trillions of dollars in this entire warfare. They started this entire thing off. Bill Gates was a part of that, the Peer Bright Group. So not only did they make money off the virus spreading, they also made money off the vaccines. That's right. Then there's the oil companies. Because the oil companies made money in the shortages after we had to get shut down to get those vaccines. The vaccine mandates, the breaking of the constitutional rights. Again, that's the reason why Roe v. Wade could be so easily overturned. But we were so blinded by Fauci. We said, "You, Donald Trump, you've grabbed too many people by the coochie." And now we wish we had a person, a man with a backbone that would slap a bitch on the ass and grab him by the coochie to handle something like this. Instead of Sleepy Joe, who would allow him sleeping on a job to allow Nancy Pelosi to put herself in a situation. So he started one war and she's starting the next. He's funding the Ukraine war by, again, a TV comedian president. And now she's starting the second war. But what's the fourth component? The third component is the warfare, as I'm talking about. The two wars that are happening to amplify the military spending and the overhaul of the financial, or the continued further breaking of the financial system. Because while China is dealing with the financial economical crisis of their own right now, guess what? Guess who? Guess when? Guess why? They're also dealing with a financial crisis internally as well. Mortgage collapse, trillions of dollars. And when I say China market is facing a mortgage collapse, trillions of dollars. And you hear about the America mortgage collapse that cost trillions of dollars, and they both required a bailout. You got to understand, the fourth largest moneymaker in this entire process, or that fourth component, ladies and gentlemen, is insurance. That's it. Everything is held together by insurance. What do you mean? Don't you think the government insures all those bombs, bullets that they're sending in case they get destroyed so they make the money back on that? Of course. They're not doing it for free. Everything that requires currency requires insurance. If you have a car, it requires insurance. If you buy a house, it requires insurance. If you rent a house, it requires insurance. Your health requires insurance. Your phone has a warranty. Your iPhone, your iPad, your iBot, your iThis, your iThat, all come with warranty. Insurance. Car shield? Insurance. The world is held together by insurance. So what I'm trying to help people understand is how you could do something about it. And how you can do something about it, really, to be honest, is to get involved in protecting yourself, your life, and your assets with insurance. Yeah, you might have some gold, you might have some watches, you might have some property, but if you don't have gold, watches, or property, what should you be doing? You got to insure your life. And I tell you what, if you think about the black people or the black families that have had loved ones pass to gun violence in the past 15 or 20 years, and you think about if those people had life insurance, what would be the difference? Because if those families have life insurance, the laws would have changed already to protect black lives, because they would not want to pay out so much for the death of black people. But black people, we have not been taught about insurance. So guess what? The Jewish people insure everything. White corporate America, they insure everything. They tell us to go out and hustle. So we don't protect everything. And in the process of hustling and getting the bag and putting it all together, you are hit with taxation, interest rates, inflation, shrinkflation, and of course, you still have to pay your insurance premiums. So if you wondered how Donald Trump as president could only pay $750 in taxation as a person that makes hundreds of millions, or at one point billions of dollars in compensation, I want you to understand it's because of LIRP with the lump plan. That's what it is. Life insurance retirement plan. And we have one that's on steroids. And that's the whole point. You have to have support that can give you the best support possible. Because in this day and age, if all your government is going to give you is $250 for your life in your death, don't you think it's worth more to you to get more for yourself? Now, the other part that is the sad thing to me, it's almost like when in Christianity, when you're taught the wrong thing, You know, a lot of Christians, you get taught the wrong thing, you don't know what you don't know. And that's it. When you don't know what you don't know, you lose out because you just simply don't know. And for a large period of time, we weren't told, we weren't taught. So again, I'm not blaming you or me. I'm just saying we did not know. It's almost like that emoji on your app. We did not know. We didn't. So if we knew about it, we would have insured Black Wall Street. So when they came to burn it down, we would have been able to build it right back up. We'd have insured Rosewood. So when they burnt that thing down and killed everyone, we would have been able to build that back up. But again, Black lives, we need to then make the difference in our legacy so we don't become the misery or just the mystery of history. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the truth of where we are today in this story, this moment in time. So I'd like to invite you to two things, okay? In this episode, I want to invite you to two things, and that's going to be my time. I want to invite you to two things. Between the 10th and the 13th of this month, I'm going to be in Las Vegas. We're having an event at the MGM Grand, okay? It's an awesome event. Shaquille is going to be a guest. He's going to be speaking. Layla Ali's going to be there. Of course, Nelly's going to be opening up, so it's going to be dope. You know what I'm saying? And we got a couple, actually my man Kurt Warner's going to be there also, so you definitely want to see that. But there's going to be a lot of things involved and a lot of things happening. And I'm not saying nothing, y'all. I'm just saying, if you want to come and you support the show, I got tickets for you, okay? I'm not going to be able to pay for your food out there in Vegas. I'm not going to pay for your room because some of y'all trying to get out there, get drunk, and go spend up a whole bunch of money. Nah, I ain't on that. But if you want to come out, have a good time, learn about how you can protect yourself, your assets, and actually prevent yourself from being able to hit with high taxation. Think about retirement tax-free. Think about being able to give your children tax-free income. Because even if you have a 401k and you have, say, $1 million in your 401k, by the time taxes hit that, you're only taking out, what, 800,000, maybe 750? Because again, taxation is going to come out of it. And that's for those who have that big money in their 401k. Most people just have a couple thousand, couple hundreds of thousands, or maybe just 10 or 50,000. But because of what you have, taxation will hit it significantly. And what makes a difference is how your taxes are structured. And that makes a difference by having a professional do it that can do it how the rich stays rich do it versus your H&R Block. But that's something different, because when you're doing it through your life insurance retirement plan, there's strategic and specific things that are put in place to protect you, your family, and your assets. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that, y'all. I'm just saying this is exactly what the rich use to stay rich. And I can't make this shit up. So if you want to know where I'm going, you want to know what I'm talking about, and you want to be a part of this event, I want to invite you out to the event coming up on the 10th to the 13th in Las Vegas. And again, tickets on me. So really, as soon as you see this, drop a post in the comment, or just go ahead and put that. I'm going to put it in the description, the email address or the phone number to hit me up directly for this event, and I'll make sure that you get tickets. Just make sure you hit me up at least as soon as you can, within the next 24 hours, at least within the next 48 hours. I give you 2 days, 48 hours. But within 48 hours, I'm going to have to cut it off because I don't have unlimited tickets. MGM Grand Arena, they hold 20,000 people, and we got a lot of people coming. But because of the show, because of what we're doing, because again, it's about helping people. So people helping people. And again, if the information that I'm using or sharing with you is helping you, I'm asking you and inviting you to come out to learn more about people helping other people, especially in the insurance industry, because you're not investing into me. You're not giving money to something that you don't have. You're investing in yourself, and you'll be able to be a licensed insurance broker if you choose to, or really learn how to protect yourself and your family from taxation to be retired with tax-free income, so you can give your children tax-free income. So when, if anything happens to you, God forbid, the money that they have to live off will never be taxed by the government. That's my time again, y'all. God bless, God's best, and as always, Godspeed. You know exactly who this is. Jason Miller, Roller Welling. Check that spelling. Bless you.